My name is Laura. I am 34 years old. I was married to Paul, who was 4 years younger than me, but it never was an issue for me, at least before. I don't want to see your face anymore. He aggressively passed by me and wrested my collar. I don't want any trash in my new dream house, so just get out. What? Yes, I don't want to live with such a trashy woman. I met Paul a couple of years ago. I was invited to a friend's party where Lucy introduced him to me. Lucy and Paul were gin friends, and let me tell you this, he was one attractive fella. He had a strong physique, chiseled jawline, and was jovial in nature. I was single, and Lucy wanted to pair me up with someone desperately. She introduced me to every single man she knew. Hey Paul, meet my nerdy millionaire friend Laura. Lucy, stop embarrassing me. Don't be embarrassed. It was a compliment. I looked at her with confusion when I blushed and said, "Thank you, Lucy." This could have been beauty with brains included in Laura's introduction. Well, you are right. She is beautiful with brains. Now you both have a good time, and I will attend to the guests. After Lucy was gone, Paul asked, "Hey, Laura, why did Lucy call you a nerd?" I smiled and replied, "Well, I am an engineer. I work for a software company, so that keeps me busy almost all day. So I couldn't make much time for my friends and socialize with them. So they call me a nerd. Well, that's awesome. You have a handsome salary, and that's why they call you a millionaire nerd." I was laughing when I said, "Yeah, you can say that." We spent the whole evening talking and getting to know each other. I felt like Paul was so sweet and irresistible. Since then, we began to meet outside. We had coffee and dinner together. After work, Paul came to pick me up to spend more time together. He was assisting people in a small company. After a few months of dating, Paul proposed to me. I loved Paul, but, it was way too early to decide. I was also afraid because Paul was 4 years younger than I was, and I meant to ask whether he was serious. And you, Paul, are you serious? Oh, Laura, come on, of course, we are a couple. But we've been seeing each other for only a couple of months. And you are 4 years younger if it wasn't enough for me. Poor chocolate. Don't get me wrong, Paul, I am a modern woman, and frankly, I don't care how old you are. But are you okay with that? As for me? Sure, Laura. Do you think that such things mean anything nowadays? Paul persuaded me that we would be a happy married couple. We announced our decision to our parents. My father, Glenn, was silent and overall happy. However, my mom asked me personally, "Laura, honey, I hope you figured out your finances with Paul." "Of course, Mom, I did that." "It's not that, well, you're rising. You're better standing than Paul now. I believe that may create some tension between you. Men are egoistic about these things." "No, Mom, Paul is a sweet man. He does not have any such ego. In fact, he agreed to do the household chores as I have a busy working schedule. I'm glad to know this. Take care, honey." This conversation made me think that I have never discussed my finance with Paul. Neither did I ask Paul about his salary. I was never interested in his money as I earned well enough. Paul had inquired about my salary. In fact, he asked me about my salary even before he proposed to me. I had worried about this for a while, but then I decided to ignore this. I was super excited to start my married life with Paul. After the wedding, I went for the honeymoon in Florida. My company sponsored our honeymoon for a month. I lived a life in that 1 month. After coming back from Florida, our 1 month of a happy married life was over. One evening after dinner, he sat me down and asked me something. "Honey, I'm so sorry to ask you this, but I need your help." I was freaked up and asked, "What's up, Paul? Is everything all right?" He said, "My parents are in trouble. The apartment where they are living is located on the second floor. There is no lift in the building. As they are aging, it's becoming difficult for them to climb the stairs. Do you think you can help me with this?" Yeah, I understand. Why don't you shift them to another house on the ground floor or in an apartment with the lift? Paul, actually, Laura, I want to build a house for them. Yeah, I know that. Do you have enough savings, or are you planning to take a loan? Paul looked down for a few moments and then said, "Laura, I was wondering if you could lend me the money to make the house." I was shocked, unexpected. I did not know what to say. "However, you earn well, so it should not be a problem for you." "But Laura, I am not sure that I can take such a huge amount of money in language." Paul asks this question somewhat aggressively. I felt so undecided to refuse him, so I said, "Okay, let me think. I'll wait for your decision. I hope you'll help me." I spent my entire evening thinking about whether I should finance money to Paul, earning a lot of money just to get a house built by Paul's money. I work hard to earn money and want to use it to acquire a home and live a peaceful life to retire. The next day, before I left for work, Paul hugged me. "Laura, I'll wait until the weekend. Let's come to the last decision." "Sorry, I'm getting late now." I wasn't feeling well about this. I did not know what to do when I talked to my colleague. She suggested I enter into a contract so that when Paul takes over he must pay it back. That seemed good to me, and I came home and told Paul. "I agreed to lend you the money, but you will need to pay me back within 3 years. Surprisingly, Paul agreed to it, and I warned him that he has to sign the official papers, and if he failed to pay me back as promised, I could take legal action against him. When he heard it, his laughter broke out. "You gotta be kidding me." "No, not really. I have the papers too." "What?" I gave him a look, and he said, "Okay, I'll sign." He smirked and signed the papers, and I transferred the money. However, it was not a feeling of goodness to lend the money in the first place, since I truly wasn't aware of how Paul would pay me back, considering that his salary would not match the quota of repaying the money. Paul started behaving strangely. He would come back at night and not help me with anything in the house. When I complained about this, he would answer that he is mostly engaged during the day. I changed my feeling towards Paul. He would take a blueprint from his new home and claim to be inspecting the design. At times he would tell me that he is staying with his parents to care for them. I was impatient with this. He approached me and I started, "Paul, you are making me uncomfortable. Since when have you been living in this house like a parasite?" I was deep in shock due to his response. "What? Excuse me. I am not in the mood to fight with you now. I am more excited about the housewarming party that Mom is organizing at our new dream house tomorrow." He spoke in a manner he was trying to mock me. I couldn't believe my ears. Paul had not yet told me the house was complete, and they were throwing a housewarming party. I screamed at Paul, "You built this house using my money, and you won't even inform me the house is complete. Secondly, you have your mother inviting guests for the housewarming party and ignoring that I should not be invited. What the hell is wrong with you?" Paul calmly replied, "Oh, my bad. Sorry. Please be our guest." He walked out of the house humming loud, as if nothing had happened. I was so mad that I wanted to shatter everything that was there in front of me, but somehow I calmed down. An hour or so later, my mother-in-law called me. "Hello. Hi, I called you to tell you that we are organizing the housewarming party at our new house tomorrow." "Okay." I didn't say anything, and I hung up the phone. Paul must have asked her to call me. If she generally wanted to invite me, she would have done it earlier. She wouldn't have called me for the first time because she never spoke to me in a good way, even when she first met me or even after our marriage. To be honest, I didn't want to go to the party that day after what happened, but then I thought that if I didn't go, Paul and his mother would talk behind my back again that I was envious of their new house. I didn't want to give them another reason to involve me in their conversations, so I put on this fake smile and went for a while. When I approached the location, I noticed that the entrance of the house was covered with flowers, and Paul and his mom greeted the guests at the entrance. After entering the house, my mom-in-law said as soon as she saw me, "Oh, you came. I thought you wouldn't come." "What made you think that?" Paul began. "Since you are here, come inside." I went inside and saw my father-in-law sitting sadly on a chair. As soon as he saw me, he gave me a genuine smile. He held my hand and said, "Thank you for the money." I smiled too. It was the only time I felt satisfied that I had given them the money, because neither the mom-in-law nor Paul have ever thanked me for that. Paul and his mother gave a cold shoulder throughout the event. I was just killing time, talking half-heartedly to supposed relatives. I was eagerly waiting for the event to be over so that I could leave that toxic place. As soon as all the guests left, I went to my father-in-law to say goodbye before leaving. "Goodbye, you take care of your health." Just then, my mother-in-law intervened. "You don't need to be bothered about my husband when you can't take care of yours." "Huh? What are you saying?" "You have been a lousy wife who doesn't do any household chores and gets them done by my son." "What kind of wife are you?" "I enforced your son to do the household chores. He volunteered to do so. Besides, I work too, so I need his help with the household chores. You should be grateful to him for tolerating a woman like you, but instead, you abuse and torture my son." "What are you talking about? I have never tortured or abused Paul." "Don't pretend to be innocent. Paul has told me how you have mentally tortured him for the money and got an agreement signed as well. What kind of wife would do such mean things?" My father-in-law tried to intervene. "Megan, stop. Why are you unnecessarily torturing the girl instead of being grateful for what she has done for us? You sit there quietly or else get inside your room." I could not believe that Megan would misbehave with Thomas in this way. She then turned to me and said, "You should be grateful to my son for marrying you, else who marries an old and ugly woman like you?" I was so frustrated with her words. I lost my cool and I shouted back at her, "How can you talk to me like this?" Paul intervened. "Laura, mind your language. How dare you raise your voice in front of my mother? Didn't you hear when she abused me?" Paul rolled his eyes and said, "I can't take your tantrums anymore." "Huh? My tantrums? Do you realize how badly you and your mother are behaving with me? I don't want to see your face any longer. I don't want any trash in my new dream house, so just get out." "Huh? What?" "Yes, I don't want to live with such a trashy woman. You've been living on my income all this time, and now you're calling me trash. You're pathetic." "Laura, let us get this straight. You knew you could have never found a handsome man like me, seeing your age and below average looks, hence you married me, although I didn't earn well. So now you should not be complaining about the money." My face turned red in anger. I felt tricked into this marriage. I yelled at him, "I can't stay with such a shallow person. I want a divorce and my money back." Paul started laughing in an evil tone. "Sure, you want a divorce? Go ahead. You have to pay me the money if you want a divorce. What the hell? Since you want the divorce, you'll have to bear it." Paul revealed the evil side of himself, which he was masking all this while. I was furious to see his evil smile. "You'll have to pay my money back which I lent you, else I'll sue you." "Go and find your stupid papers first." I felt numb. I left the place as I could not take any longer. They insulted and despised me. I went straight to my bank where I had kept the papers in the bank locker. I was surprised to see that the paper was not there in the locker. I started checking the bank log where I saw last month Paul had accessed the locker. Since it was a joint account, Paul also had access to the locker. We had opened a joint account after marriage to get money from our earnings, but unfortunately, only I was pouring money into it. I had the copy in my wardrobe, which was also missing now. I had realized that Paul had frauded me over for all these years into this marriage. He had come to me at Lucy's party for my high salary. He used to stay with my earnings in my house, and after taking the money emotionally, threatened me to lend money for his house, and later threw me out of it. And he had also stolen the agreement paper so that I cannot claim the money back. Everything else he had tricked me, but not with papers. So after that, day by day, I started sensing Paul would terrorize me, so I kept the original papers safe in Mom's house and also kept a copy one in the bank and one in the wardrobe. I was so happy even though I had to face so much suffering and insult. Luckily, I had got Paul's paper signed and have kept it away from him. Then I had my mother's phone and explained everything, and my mom was so angry regarding that she wanted to sue Paul and his mother. She also mentioned that she was not surprised to know this. I asked her about it. Did you know that Paul would do this to me? No, I did not, but I had a feeling that he was only playing love with you. How did you know? I sensed it when he hurried for marriage with you. You two were not that close to getting married, and suddenly, before you even know him, he proposes to you for marriage. I should have sensed this. But Mom, remember when I returned home, and you asked me if I talked about money with him? I told you that I did. No way. Was that a lie? Actually, Mom, it was a lie. I never discussed my money with him, and I never bothered about his salary. Take this as a lesson and learn not to trust everyone immediately. I hired a lawyer and sent the divorce paper, along with a message written that he has to pay the amount in 3 years, or else I will ask the court to sell off his property. Both Paul and his mother did not know what was coming to them when they received the divorce paper and the message. They called me desperately, and I blocked all of them. My parents also received calls from Paul, and both of them also ignored Paul's call. Paul called on my office number and messaged a recorded voice. I am sorry for all I did. You know how much I love you. I got carried away only because of my mother's words. I hope you forgive me. All this while, Paul has only used my emotions to trick me into doing things for him. But this time, I did not respond and blocked him. His lawyer sent me a message that he is trying to send at least 50% of the money, as his total salary for 3 years is not enough to return the money, and I need to be merciful and waive the remaining money. I ignored his request. Seriously. How the hell did he ever think I would waive my money for his filthy words and vulgar comments? Never. After 3 years, Paul could barely pay 50% of the money after taking loans as an individual, cannot get such a huge loan from a bank unless his monthly salary is huge. Paul's salary was low, so he had to sell the house. He insulted me, and now he is living in his parents' house, and his parents have moved back into their old house. No neighbor talks to them or takes them as a guest after getting to know everything from Lucy, John, and even from me. Lucy told me that Paul had even moved with his parents to his old locality. Megan constantly taunted him and Thomas due to his poor earnings. The office even made fun out of him as they got to know about it. It led to Paul quitting his job and shifting from the state. Thomas' husband left Megan to live with his older brother. Megan has always made a living by working as a nanny. I don't feel sorry for Paul or Megan, because they both deserve the consequence. During his last year of retirement, I'm happy to say that Thomas will be able to live in peace. I, on the other hand, have been with Charles for a year. A co-worker of 35 years old, and I have known each other for a long time, but we never considered each other dating. We used to be in different teams. About a year after my divorce, we met at a company party, and we could stand and talk to each other. But this time I am wary and take my own sweet time.